And very kindly, we've got Mr. Maitri Gunratna, who agreed to come on the show because he too has something very interesting to say. Good evening, Maitri.
Good evening, Faraz.
Thank you for actually accepting our invitation.
It's always a pleasure to be with you.
Now, obviously, COVID and more COVID. But there's also the economy.
Going from bad to worse for us.
It is, isn't it?
It is, definitely.
But so is COVID-19. It appears that it's gone a little bit somewhat out of control.
Oh, definitely. For us, I think although the government was able to handle it quite well initially, they have also slacked. And I think that's why this Minuangoda outburst has taken place. Actually, for us, the way things were going, I was dreading that they would have a total lockdown again.
Right.
Because if they had a total lockdown for us, the people would have started going in for like almost starvation. Because one thing is, especially the people in urban areas, I mean, they have no other sources of income, and their income is mainly day-to-day existence and or their salary. And I think they have eaten into most of their savings during the last lockdown period. So things would have been extremely bad. So I hope they can control it, and I hope our people also will be more disciplined in adhering to the rules. I think timely they have bought in this gazette notification, which should have come about 3 months ago, because I think the government could have bought it as they came into office, or moment they saw this outbreak, the first outbreak. So anyway, for us, government has to very seriously look at the economy, and I think now we have to go back to basics, to go back to the agricultural economy and start it at village level and start the economy coming from there. And not only that, for us, if you take the government organizations, private, like it's the government companies which the government owns, how can the government still fund airlines like Air Lanka for us?
Yes,
are they going to? I'm just only giving an example. So these organizations are going to be heavily subsidized by taxpayers' money. Can we go on like this?
No, we can't go on, obviously. And as we had a guest 2 nights ago who reminded us that there's a huge gap now between the government income and the recurrent expenditure. And there's only very little money left over for anything else. And in that context, I think the question that needs to be asked is, can we afford to have Sri Lankan Airlines? Not can we afford not to have it?
No, we can't afford to have it for us. I mean, Sri Lankan Airlines, it has been from the very inception completely bleeding the country. You cannot have organizations like this.
And therefore brings into play the need, perhaps across the board, for greater reliance on PPPs, public-private partnerships.
And for us now, for instance, you take the railway. Now the railway is, I feel, is a no-brainer in running it as a profit.
Yeah.
Because it has some of the most prime lands in the country.
Absolutely.
I think in Colombo, in the heart of Colombo, it has about 600 to 700 acres. So when you take the railway all over the place in the country where the railway line extends, there is so much of prime land which is involved, which it owns. And unfortunately, they have been sitting on it. People are encroaching on the railway lands and they are just turning a blind eye. Whereas some of these lands are facing, and most of the railway stations for us is right in the heart of a city. Now you take the Colombo Fort railway station, it is right in the heart of Colombo. There is so much of land around it. If they make use of that land, maybe for buildings, and rent it out to shops and places, things like that, that itself will subsidize the railway, and we will be able to run it almost at a subsidized rate for the people to come into the country.
Right.
So, I mean, when you take all these for us, It is easily runnable for the purpose of the public. It can make money, but you have to make 100% use of the land.
Well, and this is another thing. With the government's ability to raise funds and to keep borrowing more, it looks like that's come to an end.
No,
really.
but for us, I don't know how they can borrow funds unless they go to China right now, which may be one of
The
the
only
one country which will be able to give funds.
Yeah.
And I don't know what the cost is, and I am told there is a proposal, there is a cabinet paper which is being launched for the purpose of giving the southern highway to a Chinese-based company. Now it is like giving our port.
Yeah.
Now our port made money, our port
Yes.
makes money,
Yeah.
but you don't need to give it out. Even with all the bad management, the port is making
But
money.
the danger of giving these things to the private sector without any form of oversight will result in rising prices and an almost full neoliberal type of economy where the people, we are after all not a developed, we are an emerging
No,
economy.
definitely.
And therefore, there is a need to look after the interests of the people at the bottom of the rung. And therefore, it is essential to have sort of oversight or monitoring agencies or watchdogs.
Yeah, Faraz, now you take the central bank. I think out of the state sector, the highest paid employees, government, state employees are in the central bank.
Right.
Now, if you take the central bank, what the misery they have caused to the people of this country with regard to the finance companies.
Good point, yes.
The finance companies. Now, there are in the central bank, there are monitoring units to monitor these finance companies. Notwithstanding those watchdogs or whatever you may, hot dogs or whatever you may call them for us,
Yeah.
what has happened? Every 6 months, you see a finance company crashing.
Well, it almost seems like every 6 months.
It almost seems like so what are these watchdogs doing? So how much reliance can you place on these people? And
when-
all well said and done. These are going to be looked after. Watchdogs are going to be there. They are going to be looked. Is it happening? Is it
But
happening?
really it hasn't. And when it does happen, sometimes they say, look, that particular company didn't come under our purview because anyone can start a company and start lending money.
No, so the basic norm has become for us that if there is some problem, the government officials will come and say, no, that doesn't come under us, and take someone as a scapegoat,
Yeah.
and then absolve themselves from the whole liability. So where is it going to stop now? I mean, good private-public partnership is good.
Yeah.
But for us now, we'll say take the railway, take transport, take health. Now, what I'm saying is this. I mean, you take the health sector.
Yeah.
Okay, putting up a hospital is a costly exercise. Land is costly.
Yeah.
Those are the initial costs.
Yeah.
But state has so many valuable lands. Now, for instance, I'm just only giving you an example. In Narayanpeta, there is an Asiri hospital.
Right.
Right opposite that Asiri hospital, there is the survey department.
Right.
Survey department has maybe about 10 or 15 huge, humongous buildings.
Yeah.
And those buildings were made for the olden days where equipment was quite bulky, but now it's all concise equipment. You can do drone surveys and things like that.
Yeah.
Technology has improved.
Yeah.
Now I would say that 50% of those buildings are underutilized. Now if the government can come to a public-private partnership, which will say Asiri and say, okay, we are going to give you these buildings.
Yeah.
But you have to treat the patients at a very nominal cost.
Yeah.
I mean, that will benefit both parties. Now, for instance, for us, now you try to send someone to the general hospital today, you can't go to the general hospital because they say gain depa, don't bring anyone. because we have had COVID patients, so there is a risk of getting. So the general public, what they have to do is they have to go to private hospitals. So what are they trying to say? That the government hospitals, because COVID patients are coming in, it is not safe. So that means the government hospitals have not taken the proper precautions to take them in. So where does a daily wage earner go? Can a daily wage earner who is making 1,500 rupees go to a private hospital? To enter the private hospital, it will take him about 1,500 rupees. So this is the problem for us. The people are facing. So someone with some kind of passion to help the people, and see that these problems are addressed, we'll have to look into this. Otherwise, what is happening is, for us, no one is interested.
Actually, when we look at a global perspective, what we've done here in Sri Lanka in terms of controlling COVID-19 and the spread is quite, notwithstanding the various outbreaks like Velisara and Minuangoda and so on, we've done something pretty well.
I think, for us.
And we need to acknowledge that. But I think it's also important for the public to realize that they can't be sitting on these so-called laurels, and partying every long weekend is an excuse to have an immense gathering. There's one hotel in the south that they've now closed that operation because there was a COVID patient from Minuangoda who had gone there, and so on. So I think the public needs to be, don't you think that the public needs to be more proactive, more responsible, and do we really need a gazette from the Ministry of Health to tell us the basic things?
No, I think that's good that they brought in the gazette so that there is some teeth, they can take some action.
Yeah.
And for us, in fairness, I feel the public are wearing they are displaying the mask on the face, but whether they are putting up the mask at the correct time is another issue.
Yeah.
Because I see people sometimes walking, and when they meet someone to talk, they put the mask down and they start talking to each other. So I feel there needs to be more education as to how this COVID can get in, and what is the purpose of wearing the mask. Because sometimes you see people walking or doing exercises with the mask on, there is hardly anyone around them. So I feel that a good 50-60% do not know what this mask is, why they should wear the mask. And anyway, for us, I feel we have to learn to work with COVID.
Yes, because
we can't go on.
COVID is, for the moment,
a
reality, and it's here.
It's here.
And so there is a new normal. You can't be having gatherings of 500
yes, so you have to come to terms
exactly.
with that.
It's one more challenge that we are all facing in our lifetime.
Precisely.
And therefore, the people, this culture, unfortunately, in Sri Lanka, there's this culture that it is the government that must do everything. And even when people look for jobs, their first choice is a government job.
Oh, yeah.
I suppose that Treasury must be having kittens, because for every government person that they take on, the pension bill will keep going up.
Yeah, but now for us, they are restricting the pension schemes.
Well, I'm not surprised, because we had the EPF, ETF monies being played with, plundered, invested in stocks and shares at many times over the par value, and so on.
For us, since you bought these government jobs, why they are clamoring for government jobs is, one thing is, you are paid for not working.
Yeah.
That is the main reason.
Yeah.
Because for us, now if you go into a government organization, there are so many people. I'm just telling you, you go to a courthouse. Now I go to courthouses on a daily basis, outstation courts and all that. They are an utter mess, because no one is taking care of or seeing that the courthouses are maintained properly. I think the presence of a courthouse has to be the responsibility of the judge to maintain it. Because for us now, I remember in one courthouse in Maharavila, I was defending a client with regard to, he was charged for mosquito breeding. I mean, from the courtroom you could see lorries parked, that's productions for the courthouse, which has been bought for various offences. All the lorries had canopies, and there were small like pockets in the canopies with water filled. And I told the judge, I said, sir, the outside, you go to the courthouse, I mean, mosquito breeding is taking place here. So the discipline has to come in from.
It mustn't be selective.
It must be selective.
And on that note, we'll go for a short break because we've got a small message to share with you. Don't forget, this is Newsline Live. Do come back.
Newsfirst, Newsline with Faraz, Shauketaly.
Welcome back to Newsline Live. We have broadcast from the Newsfirst studios in North Street in Clubber. And if some people are wondering why they can see a shoeless presenter, that's because there's a small problem with the feet. On that note, we are rejoined by Matri Gunratna here.
Your viewers are very observant.
They are very observant. I think they like the colourful socks sometimes, but what can we do? But the clinic is looking after that. Now then, Matri Gunratna, we've spoken about the need for the people to be proactive, and the government is doing what they can. But nevertheless,
is the government doing whatever they can?
That's the point. We need to be able to, in between COVID, there's also this question of the economy. And like you say, so many people are dependent, they're daily waged earners. They need, they should be able to earn their money. Otherwise, it's curtains for them.
Oh, definitely.
And the problem is exaggerated because 62% of our workforce are unskilled.
Yeah.
And that may also have to do with the fact that opportunities for further education, higher education, is pretty limited. 350,000 on average intake at grade 1, and at universities there's only 30,000 places. Tertiary education is another 114,000. And then there is a gap.
A huge gap.
So the investment needs to come into education and so on. But where is the money? Where are we going to?
There is going to be no investment for us. You need to get the public sector, private sector in Sri Lanka now to get more proactive and get their help to solve these problems. And as you said before, we will have to see that there is some kind of mechanism to see that the people are going to be benefited from this. Otherwise, it's going to be another case of plundering the people and then not getting a proper service.
And therefore, in these challenging times, it is imperative that wastage and corruption is eliminated. Not just reduced, but eliminated.
You have to. But I can't see any measures which is being taken to eliminate wastage and corruption. It is happening in a larger way. Now for us, I'll tell you, for instance, now His Excellency the President at the beginning of his tenure visited the RMB.
Yeah.
And everyone knows if you need to get something done at the RMB, you have to pay money.
Right.
You have to pay money. So after his visit, now what has happened is they have made use of the visit and say, now Gotabaya Mahathyawa එක නිසා මේක ලේසියෙන් කරන්න බෑ. That is,
so what you pay has gone up? Is that what you said?
That's what I'm saying. So where does it go for us?
So he's added a premium.
He has added a premium. So now what they are saying is, no, he has come and put various checks and balances. Now it's not easy.
But now he needs to deploy some detectives.
So that's it. So now, by him going there and I mean, good. I think that's a good thing he did.
Yeah.
But what is the follow-up? There is no follow-up. So now those guys have taken the cue from that and they are just charging their own amount.
But we have environmentalists who say that before he went off to the rainforest, he had a meeting and was fully appraised of the challenges and the damage, the potential for damage. And soon after that he went there and he actually authorized the continuation of whatever it is, the road that they
That's
were
right.
doing.
No,
So some of the public can't understand that.
no, for us now, I mean, I think this question you asked me last time also. So, I mean, what else are we to do now? If the president himself is going and accusing with that kind of thing, I can't understand. I mean, and with the 20th
Is there a
Amendment,
danger that when a president such as President Gotabaya is now proposing to have a concentration of power, is there a danger that if he is advised incorrectly, that he will then make unwittingly the wrong decision?
for us, power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. This is a truism. It has been said so many years ago, and even in this instance, so much power with one person is going to extremely spoil the chances of a democratic government in this country. And for us, I must say, as you know, and I think the public knows, I'm appearing for the former president in this East Bomb Commission.
Yeah.
Now, one thing for us, I must say, in support of the former president, he's the only one
Yeah.
who reduced the powers of the presidency, and as a
Well,
result, as a result, he himself, for action or inaction, has to come before this commission to give evidence. Now, I see the positives I see in this is for us, if a person is accountable,
Yeah.
if a person is accountable, you can be rest assured that the work and the action he takes, he will do it with responsibility, he or she. So this is the transparency, or this is the democracy which was created in the Parliament government. There are the faults. I'm not saying that was the best era.
Yeah.
But still, then for us,
There were some benefits.
it went. I mean, from a bad situation to change it to a good situation for us, it's not like this. It doesn't happen like a switch.
Yeah.
It takes time. So I think a fantastic foundation was put in 2015, which this government is trying to dismantle by bringing the 20th Amendment, and we are going back to the Stone Age when it comes to freedom of the people.
And the only time, somebody's actually pointed it out, thank you very much for doing that, but the only time that Sri Lankan Airlines, we're going on about Sri Lankan Airlines because it's such a huge drain on
yes.
the economy.
Oh, yes.
It's a great big black hole. And the only time that Sri Lankan Airlines made any sort of headway financially was when it was managed by a Middle Eastern airline.
Oh, definitely, Emirates. I think.
By Emirates.
Emirates,
Right.
Because and it was this government which cancelled the contract
Yes.
and took it over,
Yeah.
and we are
We've come
suffering.
to a situation now that honestly we can't run the blessed thing without running to the treasury every now and then for a bit of topping up.
No, every day we have to go because it is not making the money for it to maintain itself for us.
So when our economy is in such tatters, you might as well hand it to the private sector if the private sector want it.
I don't think anyone is going to take it, because for us, I think the staff they have there.
When you compare the Colombo port, for example,
Yeah.
The privately run side of the port is far more efficient than the publicly run side of the port.
Yeah, not only far more efficient, it has less staff.
Yes.
It has less staff than the government. So we have more staff and we are less efficient, whereas the private sector has less staff and is more efficient. So there is some problem somewhere, no, for us.
Well, it's the same problem is going on. I know we don't have enough time to continue this bit, but with the regional plantation companies,
Oh, for us, that's another disaster.
it's a disgrace.
That's another disaster. I mean, I didn't even want to come into that because I've spoken about this the regional plantation companies. Now, for us, this is the best time because tea prices are going over the roof, and it will continue to go like that. So we need to get our tea estates and the plantations in proper nick right now. So if the regional plantation companies are not going to do that,
Yeah.
or if they have failed. I have been in Badulla for some time.
Well, then in that case, under this so-called underperforming assets business, they need to take it all back and give it to people who can do it.
But that's not happening for us. Now, if you take the JDB and the SLSPC, they are making huge losses. Huge losses. The estates are being neglected. They are going into forest. They are abandoning estates. Large tracts of estate. But still, I mean, this president, I remember as he came said, if you can't run it, give it to the private sector.
Yes.
But it is not happening because what the problem is this, there are some people who are having jobs because of this. They are scared that they will lose their jobs. Therefore, they don't want to give it out. So, how long are the people of this country going to subsidize this organization?
Well, the people of the country are not going to suffer too long because they will vote and they will make the government of the day understand that you cannot fool everybody all the time. Maitri Gunatna, thank you very much
Thank you, Faraz.
for being on Newsline. Take care, and that's the way it was. God bless you.
Newsfirst, Newsline.